We've reached rivalry week, and honestly, week 13 was kind of just there to exist this season. Nothing super special happened to recap or react to, whatever. So we're just going to change up this episode a little bit. We're going to start off with our week 14 top 12, which will be our second to last ranking. And then we're going to preview the Black Friday triple header that's happening on ABC on Friday. So stay tuned in for that later in the episode. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Nohe, Lance Barton. Real quick, as always, before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. Make sure you're following us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. And our weekly episode is brought to you by FrostBuddy. FrostBuddy.com/ATB is the place to be. Black Friday, I think they have like up to 50% off on Black Friday. So go get some Frost Buddies for some people. I know some work friends that I have are getting some Frost Buddies. So it's good stuff, man. Can coolers, like Stanley style Yetis, all kinds of stuff. They have nothing on Frost Buddy. FrostBuddy.com/ATB, and go get yourself some stuff for Black Friday and for Christmas. Lance, let's start off. Let's get right into it. We got a lot of stuff to do tonight, a lot of stuff to take care of. ATB Week 14 Top 12 rankings. It's our penultimate rankings. We're going to give one more out after the final week before the conference championships. And then after that, it's kind of just up to the committee. So obviously not a lot of ours changed. We had a little bit of a shuffling around in the middle, but the top five stayed the same. So we're going to start with number one, Ohio State. They stayed at number one. They took care of Rutgers. They did it without their top two wide receivers. I think with the final score was 42-9. They ended up covering there. And just another ho-hum victory for Ohio State on their home field. It's amazing that they can do that to an in-conference opponent without their top two offensive players.
Yeah, I mean, without the two best receivers in college football, with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. I mean, early on, I saw Twitter blowing up about Julian saying, and that he seemed by the, again, box score. I'm going to be honest with you, didn't watch it. But the box score, I went and looked at it because I was like, what's everybody talking about Julian saying for? And I was like, I was struggling a little bit. And of course, he ended up 13 for 19, only threw 19 passes, threw a couple of tutties, no picks. And Bo Jackson, what a name for a running back. Bo Jackson for the Buckeyes. They ended up with over 100 yards rushing, a couple of tutties. So, and the defense, of course, for the Buckeyes played really well. But, I mean, for Ohio State, we're obviously going to get into that game, the game coming up with Michigan. That is the 800-pound gorilla now that Ryan Day still has to get rid of. That is the monster under his bed that he has to get rid of. And I'm sure Buckeye fans would totally agree with that. So I cannot wait to see, as a fan of college football, man, I know College Game Day is going there. I can't wait to watch that game Saturday with them and with the Buckeyes and the Wolverines.
Yeah, and I know they played Rutgers. Okay, I give the SEC a hard time for this week, the cupcake week and everything. And
so does everybody else. Don't worry.
Yeah, and there was some buys this week, and I think next year we're going to get away from the two buys, like the way the calendar falls. We're just going back to one bye week. So I don't think we're going to get buys this late in the week like Indiana and Texas Tech had before, the final week. This is a sport we just absolutely love. It's a beautiful sport at times. It's beautifully flawed, we love to say. And one of its flaws is its schedule. And yes, we're talking about the schedule of college football as a whole. And everything's going down in Oxford right now because of the college football schedule and the college football calendar. But also this schedule and the fact that we can't agree on okay, let's just get these games out of the way early in the year, and we should never get to week 13 and the week before Thanksgiving and literally have hardly anything to talk about. Right. I mean, that's just a little rant as we're going through our top 12. Against Ohio State, they played Rutgers. They played without their best two wide receivers and they won by 33. I know it's a conference game, right? Nothing they did, but it just kind of got me on a little rant there. I'm sorry.
No, I don't. I mean, again, we could talk all day about how I feel about as regards to that everybody freaks out about cupcake week for the SEC. when some, not all, but some of those teams have been running a gauntlet. But I agree with you that those games need to be in September. They do not need to be the week before Thanksgiving here when we're trying to decide conference champions and who's going to the playoff, who isn't. That cupcake week shouldn't be the week before rivalry weekend.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't.
Yeah, we need to have some consequential games. So we'll see what happens next year with the calendar and see how they do it. But at number 2, Indiana Hoosiers, they don't move. They didn't play. They got a bye week, and so they go up to West Lafayette, up the road from my house, to play the Purdue Boilermakers here on Black Friday. They moved that game to Black Friday on Friday night on NBC at 7:30. And then at number 3, Texas A&M. They got the win over Samford, and Marcel Reed looked good in the first half. Almost just kind of like a glorified walkthrough for the Aggies this week.
Yeah, I mean they shut them out, so the defense did their job. And in games like that, you want to remain sharp, work on some things that you need to work on, and stay injury free. And as far as I know, I don't know that any big injuries happened for Texas A&M. And obviously, again, speaking of 800-pound gorillas, I know that Michigan has beaten Ohio State multiple years in a row, and Texas A&M, renewed their rivalry last year on the football field. But it just seems like no matter what sport it is, that Texas has just owned Texas A&M over the last few years. You've got the deal with the baseball coach Slosh leaving A&M for Texas, and last year, first year in the SEC, A&M, I think if they would have won that game against Texas, I think they could have punched a ticket to the SEC championship game, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Texas beat them last year at Texas A&M. They're just a lot of bad blood there, and it just the whole. I'm not saying A&M is Texas's little brother. It's not what I'm saying. But some people think that outside of College Station and think it in Austin and think it outside of those two fan bases. That's not what I think. But this is a great chance for Texas A&M. Obviously, the best chance that it's the best team they've had of my lifetime, and that A&M could go into Austin and bury them on their way to the college football playoff and a chance to compete for an SEC title. This is everything you dream of as a Texas A&M fan going into that game. So again, that's another one. Can't wait for that one. If I'm not mistaken, that's on Black Friday too as well, right?
Yep, we're going to talk about that game here in a couple minutes.
Good deal.
We're kind of zooming through these rankings here because not much change in the top 5. Number 4, Georgia. One of the best trends out there, if you want to bet, is anytime Kirby Smart is a favorite of 38 points or more, he is 0-16 against the spread now. They were favored by 43.5, 44 against Charlotte. Charlotte's an FBS program. It's a G5 program. They're about one of the worst this year. Georgia gets up 28-0, makes those Charlotte backers sweat. It's 35-3 final. They get up in those games. They just don't care about them. Kirby just wants to get it over with. Again, get everybody healthy, head down to Atlanta, and face the Yellow Jackets this coming week.
Yeah, again, Kirby's from
we'll talk about that game here in a couple minutes too.
Yeah, Kirby's from the school of Nick Saban. Nick Saban did the same thing. He did not embarrass those teams very often, and I just think Kirby is the same way. Like you said, he's going to get starters out, let other guys play. They practice really hard. He's going to let some of those backups get in and play. But again, they've got another one coming up. A big one coming up against Georgia Tech. We remember that game last year. So yeah, we still got the Dogs at 4 after the 35-3 win against the Biff Poggy-less Charlotte bunch. Like I said, you said Charlotte, just one of the worst teams in the country. Man, they can't figure it out without our boy Biff Poggy.
Nope, can't do it. Number 5, Texas Tech. They were on bye this week, and they head to a lovely little place in the Appalachian Mountains. I believe the Appalachian in Morgantown, West Virginia, to play West Virginia this Saturday. And we'll kind of touch on their game later on in the episode, but they don't move at all from number 5, and they still have the inside track to the Big 12 championship. So here's where we had to change. Number 6, we got the Oregon Ducks. And you're probably like, that's not a change. They were ranked there last week. Well, not in our poll. They were ranked number 9 in our poll because up until Saturday, they hadn't beaten a top 20 team in the college football playoff rankings. So they finally got that kind of big signature win, which is, again, crazy that it took till week 13 for Oregon to get a big signature win. and we can touch on, Dan Lanning's comments after the game, and I'm sure everybody heard him. Everybody made their rounds and cycled through and all that stuff. But again, they come out with a nice 42-27 victory over USC. They helped us duck backers out at minus 9.5, minus 10. They won by 15, so they covered that spread. And now they go on the road to face the Dogs up in Seattle, Washington Huskies, in the border war. So talk about Oregon moving up to 6 here.
Yeah, man. Again, without their two best wide receivers, I know USC had some guys out too. They had some players out too on both sides of the ball for the Trojans. But I mean, Oregon did have their two best receivers out, and Dante Moore was still 22 of 30 with over 250 yards passing. They ran the football well. That freaking Noah Whittington, dude, he's been there for a while, kind of the elder statesman
Yeah.
there. It's an interesting like contrast there. You've got the elder statesman and Noah Whittington, and then you've got those freshmen, Jordan Davis and Adair Hill Jr., who are explosive as can be and have played really well for them also. But this was Noah Whittington's game, man. This was his game. He was the hot hand, so Oregon kept feeding him. He had over 100 yards rushing for almost 6 yards a carry in this game. But dude, we talked about him before the game in our preview for this Oregon USC game, and you and I also texted about him during the game. Kenyon Sadiq is just a freak, bro.
Yeah.
The fact that guy is a tight end and is as athletic as he is and can do the things that he can do is just remarkable, man. I mean, that touchdown that he had where he got popped there in the end zone was incredible and came at a big time for the Ducks in that game as well. But again, defensively too, how do you say it? Bryce Betcher?
Yep.
Betcher, yeah, 13 tackles, a tackle for a loss. He was all over the place. He was definitely he stood. I think he had a rushing touchdown too in this game, if
He
I'm not
did.
mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, from the
Yep.
wildcat position, the old Jacob Rodriguez deal there, like they did at Texas Tech here recently. But that's kind of a trend, man, that I think the more teams need to adopt. They brought in Bear Alexander to lead block on that play. They had like just a heavy package in and put him in at wildcat. So that was interesting there. But yeah, as far as just Oregon is concerned, dude, they fall in that category where we have thought that they were the better team of teams that we had ranked ahead of them, but their resume did not warrant us yet putting them ahead of, for example, Ole Miss. Their resume did not warrant us putting them ahead of Ole Miss. And now that they do have a signature win like that against USC, they looked impressive in the game. Now it warrants that we can move Oregon up, like the rest of the country already had Oregon there.
Yeah.
And we believe you need to earn it a little bit before we're going to just put you up there. Your brand and your talent and how good we think you may be and how good we think your staff is and things like that. If you don't have the wins to back it up, we're not going to put you there. But they've earned that now. And as far as Dan Lanning's comments after the game, I mean, yeah, I know that got everybody in his fan base and it got the Big Ten fans. And because we know that this, again, every single Saturday, it's just a constant battle between Big Ten and SEC fans on social media. But I want to remind everybody, I think Dan Lanning played a team called Montana State earlier in the year.
Hey, they're the number 2 seed. They're the number 2 seed in the FCS bracket. Thank you very much.
They are, and hey, the Bobcat. I think the Bobcats, right? There's nothing wrong with the Bobcats there, but still, his comment was playing FCS teams. But again, where I agree with him is, and we already talked about it a minute ago, the SEC teams or whoever shouldn't be playing FCS programs in late November.
Yeah,
like play those games in September, and let's play conference games and meaningful football games. And I know the Ohio States and some of the teams in the Big Ten played weak opponents still. Like Notre Dame played a weak opponent in Syracuse. But like when you schedule that game, like you're not sitting there thinking like, oh yeah, Syracuse might as well be an FCS team. No, that's not what you're not thinking. You know what I mean? You're not thinking that.
When Oregon scheduled that Oklahoma State game probably 10 years ago, Mike Gundy's probably taking them to the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
it's like that's a problem. That's a problem for another episode too. Just scheduling those games way far in advance.
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, Oregon's one of the most talented teams in the country, bro. The thing that impresses me most about this Oregon team is again, their defense is legit, bro. Their defense is really good. That USC offense is really freaking good. Yep. And I mean, again, the USC's defense is still not there yet, but Oregon's offense is legit. I mean, Dante Moore is very efficient. He's accurate. He can hit you with the deep ball. They've got weapons everywhere. They can run the football. And again, the difference with this Oregon team, even more so than last year. I know Oregon had offensive linemen last year that got drafted and were really good. But dude, this offensive line, Isaiah World at left tackle, boy, he lived up to the hype, didn't he? The transfer from Nevada.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely
Yeah.
lived up to the hype. This offensive line is nasty for Oregon, and they can run the piss out of the football. And they've got a really dang good quarterback that's efficient, not going to sit there and beat him. Like, he's not going to get you beat by making a bunch of mistakes,
Yeah.
as efficient as he is. So, yeah, I mean, this Oregon team looks to be, depending on the draw that they would get in the college football playoff, as long as they win, not an easy one, as long as they win this coming up week against a team that is about as good as any home team in college football in Washington at Husky Stadium. Again, that bunch, you go back and look at Washington. If I'm not mistaken, I think they've got one home loss in like the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And that was to the Buckeyes earlier
Yep.
this year. So that will not be an easy task for the Ducks against that heading to the fishbowl against the Huskies. But as long as they win that game, Oregon will be hosting a playoff game in Eugene here in a few weeks.
And they might be playing in the Big Ten championship. We'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like on that really quick, or do you want to save that for later?
I mean, we'll talk about it on our next episode, but yeah, if Michigan wins and Oregon wins, and Oregon goes to the Big Ten championship, it's pretty simple.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen Ohio State beat Michigan in a few years, so that's it's not like that can't happen.
As of Saturday, it'll be 2,191 days since Ohio State's beat Michigan. So
But who's counting?
Number 7, we got Ole Miss. Absolutely nothing is going on in Oxford. Nothing went on in Oxford over the bye week.
No news.
Nothing
no
happened.
news out of there.
Yeah. Some people on Twitter or X claim to think they know where Lane Kiffin's going to be in 2026, and all I can say is wow. But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. He's going to coach the Egg Bowl, though, which we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes. We preview our Black Friday triple header. Number 8, Oklahoma. Big win over Missouri, who Eli Drinkwitz has still never beaten a SEC opponent who's finished with a winning record. And I don't think he'll get a chance because they play Arkansas.
And he's got a really bad record against ranked opponents, too.
Yeah, it's like 0-16, 0-17, something like that. I don't know.
Oh, and he's 0-16, 17 against teams with winning records in conference play. But he's like 5-17 or something like that against teams that are ranked. So, hey, look, Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri found out that Oklahoma defense, bro, is just, I mean, they're the best defense in the country, them or Ohio State. The only reason that like it's, like, I know that there's some people listening to this and go, are you crazy? Ohio State's definitely the best defense in the country. Ohio State's defense hasn't really been tested. They really haven't. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma has faced some really good offenses.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Missouri's a juggernaut. Don't mistake me for that. But it's either Oklahoma or Ohio State are the best defenses in college football right now. And the only difference is Oklahoma has at least been tested. And they failed a test against a really good offense in Ole Miss earlier this year. Absolutely. But if it's not Oklahoma, it is Ohio State. We're just splitting hairs here with that. But that defense is nasty, man. That front 7 got after Mizzou all game long. Ahmad Hardy was the nation's leading rusher going into that game. They ended up holding him in check after that after that opening drive. Ahmad Hardy ran it really well on that opening drive, and then Venables does what Venables does. He made adjustments, and after that, they just decided, you know what? He's not beating us. Yeah. Which is easier said than done, but they made it happen. They did not allow Ahmad Hardy to get going after that opening drive. Eventually, though, man, that offense has to do something, bro.
Yeah, Mateer can't go 14 for 30 every game. He can't. No. I mean, they got outgained once again. They had one 87-yard touchdown.
Yep.
It's just it's not pretty. They're getting the job done. Credit to them. They're getting the job done. It's not pretty right now. But I will say, just kind of seeing what I'm seeing on social media and talking to some people we know, there's a lot of fan bases that would not mind seeing Oklahoma
Yep.
In the playoffs. I mean, again, be careful what you wish for.
Agree.
Might have to go to Norman. So, but right now we got Oklahoma at number 8.
Would you rather?
Number 9.
Go ahead, and we'll
Go
get
ahead.
to that later. Go ahead.
Okay. Number 9, we got Alabama. They played Eastern Illinois. What was the final score of that game?
No, a lot to not a lot.
49
It
nothing,
was
63 nothing. I don't know.
56 nothing.
56 nothing. I think they held Eastern Illinois to like 23 total yards or something like that, or 34 total yards.
Yeah, because obviously I watched it. The defense looked really sharp, and they actually came out with like a lot of energy, passion. Like they really wanted to be sharp in that game. They were getting after it early. But the thing that I took away from that game mostly was, dude, the recruiting class that Caleb Nabor just brought in this last year was one of the top 3 recruiting classes in the country. There's a lot of really dang good young talent, man, on this team, and if they can just keep them on that team, the future will be bright for that bunch. Austin Mack and Keelan Russell both looked. I know it's Eastern Illinois, but like, dude, you've watched games before in the past of your favorite team, and then you watch the game. I don't care who it's against, and you're sitting there watching. You're like, dang, that dude's gonna be good. That guy's gonna
Yeah.
be legit. I remember growing up as a kid watching, and like all of a sudden this guy would come in by the name of Kenyon Drake and just run wild on teams, and you're like, that dude's gonna be legit. And you watch an Alabama game one time, and you're like, man, there's this guy named Josh Jacobs. Nobody's ever heard of. Is running the football and like, man, look at that guy. He's legit. And so on. Like that's what I'm talking about. There were guys playing there in that second half with a ton of playing time that just jumped off the page that you're like, and then you go look them up and you're like, oh yeah, he was a 5-star such and such, or he was a high rated 4-star from this place that chose Alabama over Oregon and Texas. And so if they can keep those guys there, the future's bright. But yeah, it was just again the late November whipping boy in Eastern Illinois, and they didn't have any major injuries. There is one injury though that was found out Saturday morning, and brutal as far as the Iron Bowl is concerned, and probably the SEC championship game if they were to win the Iron Bowl, which is Josh Cuevas, which has been their second best weapon behind Jeremy Bernard down the stretch. And tight end Josh Cuevas will be out for the next couple of weeks. If Alabama does beat Auburn, he will be out more than likely for the SEC championship game as well. But I think that if Alabama is in the playoffs, he should be back for the college football playoffs.
Yep. And obviously they've got the Iron Bowl coming up, and we're going to cover that on our episode next time when we get to these Saturday games of Rivalry Week. Speaking of playing FCS teams, number 10, we've got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Poor
they didn't play an
Brown.
FCS team.
Poor
They didn't play an
Brown.
FCS team. They had they actually played a P4 team, but looking at the final score, 70-7, and that 7 for Syracuse came with 11 seconds to go in the game. And I'm not sure I've ever seen a team, FCS or not, I don't care who you're playing, go up 21-0 before your offense even touches the ball. And then usually when your team, when you don't have as many passing yards as you have points, you lose the game. And CJ Carr, I mean, he threw the ball 9 times, I think. And really, honestly, I think he threw the ball 9 times because they just felt like they needed to get his arm loose or something. Like they could have ran the ball the entire game and probably still scored 70 points. They probably could have put up 100 in this game if they wanted to.
Bro, can I read you this really quick?
Yeah.
I've never seen this before. I was waiting to get to Notre Dame to mention this. Here's the yards per carry for each player. Jeremiah Love, 21.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. You read that correct. You heard that correctly. 21.5 yards per carry. Jadarian Price, 17.5 yards per carry. Kenny Minchie, the backup quarterback, 29.5 yards per carry. Aeneas Williams, the third string tailback, that's kind of like their third down back that can catch the rock out of the backfield, sophomore, 13 yards per carry. Man, and poor Nolan James Jr., he averaged 0.5 yards a carry.
CJ Carr took 1 sack for -10. All in all, it was 13.7 as a team.
13.7 yards per carry.
That's like high school 6A versus 1A stats.
That's Derrick Henry down there in Yulee, Florida, playing against 1A teams. Stuff like that's remarkable. And I know we don't talk about the Heisman very often, man, but I put out a tweet today, and the best player in college football this year is Jeremiah Love. and I'm not a Notre Dame fan or anything like that. I'm just saying what my eyeballs see when I watch games. And Fernando Mendoza is really freaking good, and he's an awesome story. And if he wins it, I'll be thrilled for him, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. It's good stuff that a dude from Indiana wins the Heisman Trophy. That'd be amazing. Marcel Reed's done some great things for Texas A&M, but 99.9% of years, Marcel Reed at quarterback's not going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
He's just not. Like, if you go back and look at numbers and then think about the games that some of those guys had, Marcel Reed's had a special year. So has Fernando Mendoza. But those dudes haven't had years that normally quarterbacks have to win the Heisman Trophy. Jeremiah Love is the best player in college football. And if you disagree, that's okay. If you do disagree, I want you to come in our comments and tell me that you've actually watched him play multiple times this year, and you tell me you don't think he's the best player in college
Don't
football.
just throw up stats that, so and
Correct.
so has more rushing yards. And,
Yes.
I mean, he's not playing second halves of a game, in late November.
Correct.
So
And he's splitting carries with arguably the second best tailback in college football. Like, I know old dude at Ole Miss, and then Ahmad Hardy at Mizzou, but Jadarian Price is a top 5. Let's just say top 5. Jadarian Price is a top 5 tailback in college football. So he's splitting carries with that guy. And so I think he's now he's third in the odds on favorites. Is that what you said?
he is. Yep.
After
Behind
last
Mendoza and
weekend?
Sayin.
And every year that ends, and when the year ends in a 5, what was that? What was that stat too?
Every year that's ended in a 5. That's 85, 95, 2005, 15, 25. Well, maybe not 25. We'll see. A running back has won the Heisman Trophy. So Notre Dame, I mean, I know they're playing Syracuse. They did exactly what they needed to do. They didn't give the committee any reason to even think about moving them back at all from number 9.
Yep.
And honestly, they're playing Stanford this week. They're probably going to try to pump up Love's numbers a little bit more, but who's to say they're not going to do the same exact thing to Stanford as 32-point favorites on the road.
They're going to blast Stanford.
Yeah. So, and again, they need to win by 50 plus, because that gives the committee just absolutely no reason why, and we'll see what happens. Number 11, we got BYU. So Notre Dame, BYU, they didn't change. BYU, LJ Martin, 222 yards on the ground.
It was unbelievable.
In Nippert Stadium. The Vamps are now 41-4 in their last 45 night games. They keep getting it done.
I was trying to go find to see if I had it from old Halloween costumes, any like vampire fangs that I could put in when you said that I was going to surprise you and act like I was getting a drink or something, but I couldn't find them. They're just treating us good, bro. BYU -2.5. I literally just said, hey, it's a tough spot. It's a road game. Nippert Stadium's a tough place to play. It's at night. They're doing a blackout. But until BYU loses again, man, in night games, in true night games, I'm just going to keep backing them, bro. And I actually watched a ton of that game because the other games at night were just absolute cheek clappings all over the tele. I had 3 TVs going, and every TV I had on there was just a bunch of bending people over the knee and spanking them. And BYU and Cincy was a really good football game, almost the entire game. And Nippert Stadium was freaking lit. That was awesome.
Yeah.
BYU's just, bro, they're just tough. They're well coached. They're tough. They're fundamental. They just run the piss out of the football, like you said, with Bear Bachmeyer and LJ Martin. Who do they have here?
UCF left.
UCF, is that at BYU?
Yes, it's at BYU.
And as long as they win that game, they're in the Big 12 title.
They win that game, they're 11-1. They're the Big 12 championship, and they are just, they're just sitting there waiting right outside the top 10 for one of these teams to stumble, and so they can make a case. If they are, it'll be interesting to see if they are in the top 10, because that's kind of where you need to be. Like, if they're number 10 and they go lose to Texas Tech, and maybe it's a 3-point loss this time, maybe they play them a lot better. What do they do? Whether we saw them set the precedent of not punishing SMU. But if they're 11 and nobody loses, everybody holds serve this weekend. If they're 11, they're going to have to beat Texas Tech to get in, right? They're because I don't think they're going to punish Alabama for losing to the SEC championship. They're not going to punish, Oregon if they play Indiana. Like, they're not going to punish those teams.
Yep.
So they're going to need someone to trip up still, or they're just going to need to go beat Texas Tech. So
yep, I don't disagree.
And at number 12, we got a new team because USC was our number 12 last week. We got Miami in there. And so they had a 34-17 victory against Virginia Tech. Carson Beck played really well.
Yep.
Malachi Tony just continues to be a freak. Like, he's this year's Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. Like, just unbelievable. 12 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. Worries me a little bit that they only got 83 yards on 30 carries against Virginia Tech's piss poor defense. But they've got this new cat. They're running Gerard Pringle. And Mark Fletcher only got 6 carries. So seems like Fletcher's kind of being phased out. But they get a big one this week, man. They got to travel up to Pittsburgh, where it's going to be about 31 degrees as a high on Saturday. So we'll see how they get acclimated to play a Pitt team that is coming off a massive victory in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, they need to. It's a situation again, man. Obviously, they just need to win, but because where the committee currently has them, they need to win impressively. They do. They need to have style points. I mean, whether it's fair or not fair, that's not what we're going to talk about right now. But Notre Dame just played that Pitt team and absolutely thrashed them at Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know Miami fans listening, they're going like, well, what if Notre Dame and Miami played on the field? I wonder what would happen. I get it.
What if they played on the field in November? What would happen?
Right. Yeah. I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
But we're not the committee. We don't have Miami on the committee ahead of Notre Dame or not. Fact of the matter is this is just reality. Miami has to not only just win, they need to win impressively. This is maybe, depending on what happens in the rest of the ACC. I don't know if you have the scenarios in front of you, because I don't, for what Miami would need to get into the ACC championship game.
I've seen it come across my phone today. They've got to win, and they've got to. I mean, them and Pitt both have to win and get some help from, I think, Virginia and SMU, maybe one other team too. So, I mean, it's like I want to say ESPN Analytics put it at like a 12% chance that Miami.
Okay, so it's probably let's just say it's not happening. So this
Virginia plays home of Virginia Tech, and SMU plays Cal, who just fired their coach.
Yeah, this will be the last dress rehearsal for Miami then for the rest of the country to watch them play before the committee makes a decision. So this will be their last thing that the committee will have on their minds when they watch Miami play this Saturday. They need to win, and they need to look good doing it. And then obviously they're going to need some help. They're going to need Alabama to lose in the Iron Bowl, or Alabama to get if they win the Iron Bowl, to get just destroyed in the SEC championship game, or they need Notre Dame. Notre Dame's not losing to Stanford. I'm not even going there. They need Oklahoma to lose to LSU, something like that, to Ole Miss to lose to Mississippi State. And even then, I don't know. But still, they need some stuff like that to happen, and they need to look good in this game for them to have a shot, for them to find themselves in the college football playoff.
Yep. So that's our penultimate top 12. Well, we're not doing any live show this week, so that's kind of it for us on as far as rankings goes. We'll probably put out something later on, kind of on Twitter, on X, on Tuesday, kind of what we think the committee is going to do. But as far as us, like, that's how we would have the top 12 for the committee, and then I think we would have. I mean, I probably would have. I mean, I don't know if Virginia plays SMU in the ACC championship game. Like, you taking SMU in that one?
I am. I think Kevin Jennings is hot right now, bro. Like,
Rhett Lashley's going to go to back-to-back college football playoffs.
He might, man.
They're not ranked. Well, they're not ranked right now, so it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you know, the whole thing is JMU and all this stuff. You got Tulane up there. Tulane's going to be ranked ahead of SMU.
The AP had SMU ranked. We know, dude. As soon as I saw that, we knew exactly what the committee's going to do.
Yeah,
they're going to have SMU ranked. They're going to slot them in at 25.
The AP had JMU ahead of SMU.
Correct.
But again, the committee hasn't even acknowledged JMU exists right now. So
correct. Yep. Yeah. They're gonna have SMU 25, 24, 23, somewhere around there. And if they win the conference championship, that'll be their. I'm not gonna say excuse, but that'll be their reasoning for jumping them ahead of whoever that G5 team is.
Yeah.
If SMU wins out, they'll be that fourth or fifth, whatever it is, highest ranked conference champion.
So I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they'd be behind Tulane in our bracket, so they would play Texas Tech first round in Lubbock, and Tulane would then go to Oregon. And so that's a long trip for the Green Wave. And then again, in our bracket, you would still have Ole Miss hosting Notre Dame, and then Oklahoma this time hosting Alabama.
Yep.
In our bracket. So we'll put out our bracket and everything on Tuesday and let you guys take a peek and see what you think. So Lance, let's talk some Black Friday football,
Let's get
my
it.
brother. We got football on Friday this week. We're gonna start and not in chronological order, in reverse order of the ABC triple header. We're gonna start in order of importance. Um, we don't know what these teams are ranked yet because we're doing this preview a little early. We assume A&M will be 3, Texas will probably be around 16, I would say.
15, 16 range, yeah.
15, 16. So you got the number 3 Texas A&M Aggies going on the road to Austin to face Texas. Line currently, as of Sunday, is 2.5. Aggies favored by 2.5. 7:30 ABC kickoff. Texas has won 10 out of the last 13 meetings. They only played 13 times since 2000. They've won 10 out of the last 13, kind of like you were talking about earlier in the episode of how, we're not here to call anyone big brother or little brother, but, Texas is Texas is kind of showing them that, the past couple decades. And then obviously, tagging along and moving on to the SEC to kind of puff out their chests a little more and make the SEC championship last year in their first season when A&M hasn't made it yet, making the college football playoff semifinals again last year, really ending their A&M's chances last year in Kyle Field on their home field. A&M had a chance to make the SEC championship there, just couldn't get it done. Lost that game, I believe, 17-7. So this game kind of roles reverse, man. Like A&M still got that shot to make the SEC championship game. And if Texas beats them, they are going to have to sweat out a lot of results on Saturday to still get in there. But it's an interesting dichotomy. Obviously, you never want to lose your rival, but A&M, they lose to Texas, like they're still in the playoff.
Yeah.
They may not have to go and play a SEC championship game, and they're probably going to be hosting a game at Kyle Field.
Yep. I mean, look, this is the definition of perception versus reality. The perception from the outside world is that Texas A&M is Texas's little brother. Reality is that's not the case. After Texas A&M joined the SEC, they were the definition of what I would call a sleeping giant. And I know Jimbo didn't win a bunch of games there, but when NIL became a thing, Texas A&M flexed that oil money, the Johnny Manziel years, it unlocked it unlocked all of the potential that College Station and Texas A&M, everything that program can be. It unlocked all of that potential. And nobody has truly, though, taken advantage of it until now. And Mike Elko is doing that. This A&M team, man, the talent that they have across the board that they're going to continue to bring in, like you said it earlier this year, man, we'll start on the Texas A&M offensive side of the ball versus the Texas defense. Nobody upgraded a position group better in all of college football than Texas A&M did at the wide receiver position with Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver. Just unbelievable what those two guys did for this Texas A&M offense. They went from being just big and slow on the outside to now they are literally just the smallest of a crease that they get open. And if Marcel Reed hits them, it's all of a sudden out the gate for a tutty, just constantly. And the way you have to defend them, you can't just attack them at the line of scrimmage and bring all these bodies down to try to stop the run game because you're always going to have the threat. Like what keeps defensive coordinators up at night is the explosive play that can change a game just like that. And then on the other thing is a dual threat quarterback that if you do everything right, you rush the quarterback with Texas's edge rushers. They've got some of the best pass rushers in all of college football. Texas is as good as there is in the country. So is Texas A&M. We'll get to the A&M defense here in a minute. The Texas defense is so good at getting after the passer. But A&M's offensive line, one of the best in the country. They've got a really good running game, and they've got a legit dual threat quarterback in Marcel Reed. So I will say I think Aggie fans and like people that cover Texas A&M would even agree with this. when you get pressure, and Marcel Reed's just like every other quarterback, dude. When you get pressure on him, he's different. If he can't run and you can keep him in the pocket and get pressure on him, he's no way near as good throwing the football. So Texas needs to. It's going to be. I'm interested to see how Pete K, the defensive coordinator there at Texas, man, how they go about like handling the way that they're going to rush Marcel Reed. Because it's almost like for me, like instead of like just selling out and like just going after him, like with everything you got type deal, like you normally would there with Texas with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill Jr. and Ethan Burke and Trey Moore and that crew and Murad Watson, is rush, but stay in your lanes and keep him kind of contained in the pocket and make him make throws with pressure in his face. If you can do that, Texas has a shot. They have a shot. Because again, we know how Texas is with the run defense. They're as good as there is in college football at stopping the run. They're a really good rush D. Georgia had some success against them running the football, I know, but still, the Texas rush defense is more than likely going into most games. You can count on that area for Texas being a strength and being a part that's going to be tough to penetrate. It's going to be tough to penetrate that Texas rush D. So. Your thoughts on that with the Texas defense versus the A&M offense and that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, they've given up 2.8 yards per carry on the ground.
Yeah,
Texas defense
and they were great last year too. I mean, they've been really good under PK at stopping the run.
Yeah, and again, that you mentioned that Georgia game, and I think the Dogs just leaned on them there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and just wouldn't give up. They wouldn't just let up, man. Like they just started churning out 5-6 yards. So A&M gets to do a point like that where they got the lead in the fourth quarter, and they can start doing that with Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens and those guys.
Again, I don't know. I was looking for that earlier because we're doing this early. Is Moss healthy?
I don't know.
I mean, I know that.
I don't think he played this past Saturday against Samford.
No, and he didn't play against South Carolina. So maybe he's bad, but still, either way, man, Reuben Owens has been really, really dang good.
I mean, we've talked about their running back room. We've talked about their running back room the entire year. They've got 4 or 5 deep there. I mean, EJ Smith was getting a couple tutties.
Amari Daniels rushed for over 100. Amari Daniels rushed for over 100 against Samford. This Jamarian Morrow was one that we didn't talk about at all preseason. He's another one. I got a buddy of mine that texted me the other day that said, "Bro, A&M's got 5 tailbacks better than anybody at Bama right now." And I said, "Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact." Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, I mean, I disagree with you. I think that I think we all like to think it's going to be hard to run against Texas, but again, like you talked about with Marcel Reed, like he can open up a lot of things. And the RPO game that they do, I mean, he can open up a lot of stuff. As soon as he keeps it one time and gets 12 yards, doesn't have to be a lot, just 12 yards. Like that just keeps those linebackers frozen for like a split second more. So then when he gives it to Amari Daniels or he gives it to Reuben Owens or whoever they throw back there, really, it's got a chance to go for big play. Or if he wants to keep both. And then you got Craver and Concepcion doing those crossing routes over the backside of the defense. And, you know, we saw how Gunnar Stockton just kind of ripped apart that Texas secondary.
Yeah.
It's if Texas isn't careful here, they can get caught many times.
I agree, man, and I agree on that. Like we know that, like Texas's weakness. I'm gonna say weakness on defense the last couple of years. If you can exploit it, we saw Cade Klubnik do it in the college football playoff last year against him. He was able to throw the football against him in the playoffs. Like Texas at that point had one of the best pass defenses in the country. We talked about it but how many quarterbacks and how many passing offenses had he faced that was as legit as that group was? Same thing. I mean, this year Texas has faced more competition, so I think Texas is definitely more battle tested, and we know what they are.
Oh, they're more battle tested than A&M for sure. This is the best team in the SEC that A&M is going to face. This is the best team they're going to face since they played Notre Dame.
100%. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Now, this is the part I'm excited to talk about. For everybody that just loves to just take a big old fat dump on Arch Manning.
Yeah.
He's playing better football right now, bro.
Yeah.
I have watched every snap of the last 2 Texas games, and against Georgia and this past week against Arkansas. And dude, I know Arkansas's defense is not, they're not booty, they're cheeks. which is
Yeah.
worse than Booty. But again, I don't care. Like Arch Manning was looking so bad earlier in the year against other defenses that were cheeks. He looks so much better now, bro. So much more comfortable. Like he's going to be really good next year, and everybody in the offseason is going to be scared to actually hype him up because of what happened this past year. We're
Yeah.
not going to be.
Yeah.
And the dude's playing good football right now, man. He is. He's playing much better ball. Sark has gotten better at calling plays for him, and he's playing and he's doing better. Now, this is going to be a really good defense, man, that he's going against. A&M is one of the best in the country at doing what just kills offenses and kills drives.
Mm-hmm.
They create negative play after negative play after negative play. That defensive front lives in the backfield and they sack the quarterback a ton. They get tons of tackles for a loss. They're among the leaders in college football in both categories. Cassius Howell is as good as there is in college football, coming off the edge and creating pressure. I mean, dude, unless I'm just not thinking, I don't know that we'll have a matchup all year that's going to have a matchup of better edge rushers than Colin Simmons for Texas and Cassius Howell for A&M, including
No.
including the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I know Ohio State's got some couple of good edge rushers. But yeah, I mean, these two teams have done really well at that position.
The Cassius Howell and Colin Simmons are going to be mega millionaires in the NFL at getting after the quarterback and rushing the quarterback. So I can't wait to see what each team's plans are to combat that. But we know Texas loves to throw a lot of screens. They lose the screen game a ton. They throw a lot of quick passes to try to like offset the other teams having creating pressure against them. So be interesting to see how Mike Elko and that defense for A&M schemes that up.
Yeah.
Do you think Texas can run the football with Q Wisner and CJ Baxter against this A&M defense? Do you think they can have success?
I think they can. A&M gives up 4.1 a carry. It's 53rd in the country. It's just when we've gotten up on so many teams that they haven't really allowed. Like a lot of teams haven't been able to run the ball because they've been playing from behind.
To that point, like a bunch of my buddies here in Missouri were all like talking about like it just sucked that it seemed like Mizzou just completely abandoned the run against A&M in that game a couple of weeks ago with Ahmad Hardy. And I was like, well, when you get behind, but they made a good point. They were like, well, yeah, but like we were basically just conceding throwing the damn ball with Zollers, and that we should have kept running the ball. Like I think Sark will stick to it. If they have some success, now if they're not having any success at all, I don't think that'll be the case. But I think Sark will stick with it and at least try to continue running the ball because, dude, Texas has no chance to win this game if they can't run the football. They've got to be able to run the football.
Sark only runs on 48.7% of his play calls. And they've been playing from behind in a couple games too. But, in games like this, and when it gets down to late November and December, we talked about it a ton in the playoffs last year. I always like to try to focus on some of those intangibles like penalties and turnovers. And Texas A&M, they give the ball away 1.2 times a game. That's 54th in the country. They're only 103rd in forcing turnovers, right? So you got Texas on the other side. They're not giving the ball away over at all. I mean, they're 10th in the country in turning the ball over, and they are forcing turnovers at a 1.6 per game rate, which is 31st in the country. So I think that's edge of Texas. Obviously, the crowd and the home atmosphere is edge of Texas. You want to look at penalties. Both these teams are absolutely just booty in penalties, 126 and 133rd in the country in penalties per game. When we saw Texas in that Georgia game in Athens just get penalty after penalty after penalty.
I remember A&M earlier this year against Auburn kept them in the game with a ton of penalties. That game ended up 16-10 against Auburn, and the only reason that Auburn was in that game was because of so many penalties that A&M had.
But I think Texas has got to jump out early. They got to get an early lead, or at least put some pressure on them early, just like South Carolina did a couple weeks ago in Kyle Field. They've got to. I don't know if they're going to be that explosive, but they've got to get out. They've got to get the crowd into it. Texas A&M falls into a situation like that, going to be a heck of a lot different playing in Austin versus in College Station. So
I want to see A&M push, bro, on the road. I want to see it. I want to see what A&M looks like in a road game where things aren't just going right and you got to face some adversity. I know they did that in College Station. Remarkable, bro, what they did in that South Carolina game. That was one of the most unbelievable things I'd ever seen.
Yep.
But I want to see what they're like if they're getting pushed where they're not in the friendly confines of College Station, and see how Marcel Reed and see how Colin Klein calls plays, and just overall to see the whole operation for
Yep.
A&M and how they react on the road in a tough environment like this. But all right, man, I don't have any best bets in this game. Do you?
I do.
All right, let's throw it out, brother. Let's go.
I'm taking Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns, and I got him. I got him at +3.
Okay.
I know it's 2.5 right now, so I got him early at +3. A lot of these lines, I'm going to tell you that I got them pretty early. Like this, we're not even going to talk about this game, but I got South Carolina +2.5 against Clemson. As for some reason, when the line came out like earlier this week for rivalry week games, Clemson was 2.5 point favorite at South Carolina, and I was like, what are we doing here? So now it's flipped, and now South Carolina's 2.5 point favorite. So little CLV for me,
So
but I'm going
that's
to take Texas
Clemson. That's
+3.
Clemson going to South Carolina, not Clemson this week.
Clemson going to face the Coots.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
Clemson this week. It's Clemson this week.
Clemson.
Okay.
But I'm going to take Texas +3. I think
Hey.
again they don't have anything to play for, right? Except for beating their rival and just establishing their dominance, continuing to establish their dominance in the state of Texas. I mean, they know A&M's going to the playoff no matter what, and they know they're not going to go to the playoff unless, I mean, Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, like all these, it would be a miracle
Bro, I got to be honest.
for
I don't know that they
Texas.
don't know that. I really don't. You know how some of these SEC teams
I know
are,
their
dude?
Barstool account doesn't know that. That's for sure.
Right. They don't know that.
Yeah.
That's not a bad pick, man. That's not a bad pick. I'm close to getting there with you on that. But right here, we got to give it out right now. As of right now, it's not a best bet. I think Texas is going to upset them in Austin.
Okay.
I think Texas
Okay.
is going to beat them in Austin in a really, really close game, in an absolute war, and that Texas gets it done in a close game. It's not a best bet, but I like it, man, that you put your chest out and did it. I guess I'm too chicken shit for it at the moment, but yeah,
Clip
good
it,
stuff.
fans. Clip it. Clip it and let us know if we're right or wrong. Georgia going to play Georgia Tech in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Dome, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
The Dome's in New Orleans, right? The stadium's in Atlanta, sure. Georgia Tech took a payout to move this game from Bobby Dodd to Atlanta, and a lot of people just really think it doesn't matter after they saw that debacle against Pitt on Senior Day, where our boy here backed Haynes King. He said it was a Haynes King bet, and they lose that game 42-28. They're entering this game.
I needed a bunch of Haynes Kings to play corner, safety, defensive line, and linebacker. Those that commented on our video and said, too bad Haynes King doesn't play defense. You were right. I was wrong.
These boys were playing with just got no heart. Georgia Tech coming into this game as 13-point underdogs, and this is the 3:30 kick on ABC. So that will be our lead-in to the A&M Texas game. This is kind of one where the past couple years, you've really just kind of had to throw a lot of stuff out too, because Georgia's looked, kind of similar to their Georgia selves in the past, not like the 22-23, but they've looked pretty good in the past. Georgia Tech hasn't looked great, and then somehow this game just ends up being close, man. I joked about it last night that I don't even think Brent Key cared about winning the ACC championship. He just cares about beating Georgia. Do you remember that quote he talked about earlier this year? They kept asking him about, this game and why it's moved. And he literally point blank said, I don't care where we play them. Like, I don't care where it's played. So just kind of his attitude, his demeanor, I think it's going to show out for the Yellow Jackets. It's just, is that defense going to do anything to stop Georgia? And is Haynes King going to get any help at all? Like, are they going to be able to run that Buster Faulkner offense similar to what they did last year in Athens and take them to a 7 or 8 overtime game and lose 44-42? Or is it just going to be kind of another Pitt game?
I think the problem for Georgia Tech in this matchup, bro, is I just think this Georgia team is made of something different than last year's Georgia team. I really do. I think this Georgia team is more made in Kirby's image. They are more of a just tougher, meaner, more physical, seem to be more focused in their games type deal than last year's Georgia team. And they have, again, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, that of all the teams currently in the top 12 that we just gave out and earlier in this episode, nobody has improved more from week 1 to now than Georgia throughout this year, which is so funny because, again, we just think Georgia's like the Death Star, they're the best program in college football or second best program, whatever. But yeah, from the beginning of the year to now, they've gotten so much better. And offensively, there's not really any weakness for them right now. They're running the football really well. They use the tight end game as well as anybody in the country. They've got weapons on the perimeter. Mike Bobo's been in his bag the last few games. And the way that they looked in that Texas game, really in the second half, especially, that was an against elite defense that they played like they played on the offensive side of the ball. And Gunnar Stockton's playing as well as any quarterback in college football the last few weeks. If that Georgia team shows up in this game, it's an ass whipping. I really think that. If
I almost
that
wonder
Georgia
too if
team
like
shows up,
the past couple of years, like they've had like a Charlotte to lead them into this Georgia Tech. I wonder if that kind of just has lulled the dogs to sleep before this game, and then they go out and they started off that game last year in Athens. I think they were down 21-6 or so, like in the third or fourth quarter. Is that right?
I think so. But like also too, to your point, Tyler, like the last couple of years, Georgia was like in the SEC championship game going into that game
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
They're not in it as of now. Like they need somebody to lose. I think Alabama to lose to Auburn or whatever, or
So there's
A&M.
nothing really to look ahead to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're not sitting there just like automatically they're playing that next week in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
And again, they may still end up in the SEC championship
That's
game.
fair.
And the other part of this too is like, I think Georgia Tech's going to get Georgia's best shot in this one. I don't think they're sneaking up on them one damn bit in this game. I don't think because of what happened last year. I just think that that's going to be what you're going to get here. But obviously, Haynes King, man, as tough as he is, we love Brent Key as tough as he is. But dude, it's just hard for me to get behind Georgia Tech right now, as bad as that defense is. Dude, that defense that I watched last night against Pitt, because obviously I had action on it.
Yeah.
And me and you and a buddy of ours jumped in on some live line action too on the
Big
Jackets
mistake.
when they cut it to 28-14.
Big mistake.
Yeah, when they cut it to 28-14, we still believed in them. It looked like everything was going to happen there. But dude, when you go and look at Georgia Tech's schedule, there's some really,
their strength of schedule is probably in like the 60s or 70s, if I had to guess.
But there's some really bad football teams, bro, that is just getting buckets on them this year. Boston College just didn't have a pulse. And old Billy O'Brien and that crew was just lighting them up in that game. Yeah. Everybody in the ACC is just dunking on Georgia Tech as far as offensively and defensively. And those teams don't have Kirby Smart's Georgia defense.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at some of these defensive stats, man. 417 yards per game. That's 106 in the country.
Oof.
They're giving up fourth down conversions at a 68.4% rate, which is 123rd. Rush defense is 4.9 yards per carry, 111th in the country. Passing defense, 245 passing yards per game. That's 150. They're not forcing interceptions. You just kind of wonder, too, what the mindset is of the Yellow Jackets after, having everything in front of them. Yeah. All they had to do was beat Pitt. You're in the ACC championship game, and you don't get that done. Now it's a even longer shot for them probably than it is Miami. And, maybe that plays to their advantage. Maybe, okay, we're not going to the playoff. We're not winning the ACC. Let's go out and beat the Dogs.
Yep. And dude, look, after what happened last year in Athens, I don't count Haynes King and Brent Key out by any means, but I'm close. Yeah. I'm close to counting them out here.
Their offensive stats are like, 8th in the country in yards per carry, rushing the ball.
Yeah.
214 yards on the ground.
They're going to test it, bro. They're going to test it with those two tailbacks and with Haynes King running.
That's what they want to do. They want to keep running that Buster Faulkner offense, and they want to wear Georgia down by the second half in the fourth quarter. That's the game plan. Again, you look at the intangibles here. Penalties wise, Georgia's 18th in the country, 4.5 penalties a game. That's pretty disciplined. Georgia Tech's 37th, 5.5. So no real super big advantage there. But like I said, turnovers, man. Like Georgia is only giving the ball. They were giving the ball away less than one time per game. That's 12th in the country. They're 103rd in takeaways though, so it kind of evens it out. I mean, Georgia Tech's worse than that. 133rd in the country at turning their opponents over. So that's going to be big too. The way that ball bounces in that Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a best bet at the moment.
Keep calling it the Dome. Like, it's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Whatever. We can call it whatever. We can call it whatever. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like the Carrier Dome. Like, nobody calls it the Carrier Dome anymore. It's like the JM whatever wireless dome, but no, it's the Carrier Dome forever.
Yep.
But I don't have a best bet in this game. I could see myself getting there with Georgia. But right now the line's at 13.5. If you made me play it right now while we are recording this, I would say Georgia minus 13.5 is the way to go. Georgia's going to win this game, and that's my pick. That's my pick for the game. I just think that, again, because of Georgia Tech's defense, because how good that Georgia is playing, I think that Georgia Tech will have their absolute full attention in this game, and I think Georgia gets it done and wins. I know I can see that smile. I know where you're going in this game.
Yeah, I got a best bet for sure. And I told you, I think I told you last week, I'm going to be on so many underdogs.
Yep.
And this is another one, man. I was able to get Georgia Tech early at plus 14. It's already dropped to 13, so I got them 2 touchdowns there. I think I'm not confident at all. Like it's saying, hey, you should risk your money to bet Georgia Tech on the money line here. But I think they can keep it close. I think Brent Key, the respect we have for him, especially as an underdog. I mean, that was his problem against Pitt, right? They were 2.5-point favorites. Like we should have known that was he was a favorite against Boston College. He was a favorite against NC State. He hadn't covered a spread in like a month because he's been favored in all these games. Now he's getting the underdog roll back. That's where he's absolutely thrived, and he's thrived against Georgia too. So I'm going to back the Yellow Jackets plus 14 to find a way to keep it close. I really just, again, for the last time this season, I wish they hadn't moved this game from Bobby Dodd, but you know what? There's probably going to be more Georgia fans there than Georgia Tech. So it's going to be like a road game for the second year in a row. They didn't bother them last year. I'm going to take Georgia Tech plus 14 in this one.
Nice.
Last game we'll talk about is our first game on Black Friday at noon on ABC. Ole Miss Rebels at the Mississippi State Bulldogs. 7.5-point line currently in favor of the Rebels. I mean, we got to start. We got to start with Ole Miss. We got to start with the circus, right? Nobody knows if this is going to, I mean, we have a good idea, but nobody knows if this is going to be Lane Kiffin's last game in the, at Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. You don't know if he leaves afterwards, if he's going to be coaching these guys again. Like, I hear 2 schools of thought. Ole Miss, they go to the playoffs and you got a chance of doing something super special in Oxford. It's never been done. You got to try to keep him around, try to figure out a way to make it work. And then other people are like, dude, he's going to go to another SEC school. There's absolutely no way you can let him coach. And we all know the deal. When coaches leave, what happens, man? 30-day portal opens up. What in the world is going to happen if he decides to leave and some of these players jump in the portal, like the committee gets thrown in? Like I almost think they should just keep it tight-lipped until after selection Sunday, because I don't want it just, in all these situations, it always seems like the players and the guys who have been there playing the game are the ones that take the brunt of the punishment, quote unquote. Anyways, that's a rant. I didn't mean to get off in a rant about the college football playoff. Egg Bowl.
Real quick on Lane Kiffin's future. I might be the only one that thinks this. I think he's staying at Ole Miss. I might be the only one that thinks that. I will say that here on a podcast live for everyone to hear it. I think that he is, of our
statement
lifetime,
Keith Carter put out,
ultimate troll, bro. Lane Kiffin is the ultimate troll. Nobody trolls harder than he does in the modern era of social media and just this era where like there is such a thing as like social media trolls, whatever. That would be so like him to His daughter's at the like whatever women's booster club thing at LSU. Knox, his son, is rocking a
Yeah.
LSU like headphone ordeal. He's sitting there going on McAfee and almost like sounds sarcastic almost the way that he's talking. And Ole Miss is going to wait until after the Egg Bowl to make an announcement, and the whole world just thinks that he's going somewhere else because of that. And dude, I think he's going to stay. I do. And I could be wrong. Do I feel super confident about that? No, I don't. Uh, I wish there'd be a
That
way. Maybe
statement
you can
that
go
statement
ahead.
that Keith Carter put out the other day, I mean, did not lead anybody to believe that he was staying.
No, I agree. I understand. I understand. But I think he's staying. But if he doesn't, yeah, that's going to be crazy, man. What ensues after that? But as far as this game on the field goes,
Yeah.
Jeff Lebby and the boys are going to show up and going to put up a fight against Ole Miss.
5-1. 5-1 against the spread at home this year.
They have been a problem in Starkville all year. When we started getting on our upset alert roll earlier in the year, we picked South Florida to upset Boise as 6.5-point dogs week 1. Then we got Mississippi State plus 6.5 on their home field against Arizona State, and they won that game. We've backed Mississippi State multiple other times at home in Starkville
Yeah.
this year. I mean, Jeff Lebby's squad is a much more improved football team from last year. And the Egg Bowl, dude, is one of my favorite rivalries, bro. Like, I've got fond memories growing up as a kid. Like, it was always on like Thanksgiving night.
Yep.
And
Thanksgiving night.
dude, I will remember this, God willing, 40 years from now. The old like dog piss incident in the end zone.
Yeah. Is
For
that
Ole
Elijah
Miss.
Moore?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Elijah
that's
Moore.
what got what's his face fired to begin
Yep.
with.
Yep.
What was his name? Matt Luke or whatever. That's what got him
Yep.
fired to begin with at that time. So just I've got fond memories of this rivalry. This dude, if you are from around the country and don't understand, this is what you love about college football rivalries, bro. These two fan bases and programs and teams freaking hate each other. And it couldn't be any more opposite. When you go to Oxford, Mississippi and go to a football game and walk around on that campus, dude, it is literally like hotty toddy. They got chandeliers on the grove, like it's a little more like, southern kind of hoity-toity type deal. Mississippi State's just more like, hey, throw your boots on. We're just redneck as hell, and we're just going to take you out in the woods and fight your ass. I tell you that is Mississippi State in a nutshell. Starkville, Mississippi couldn't be more different than Oxford, Mississippi. Been to both multiple times. It's so different. The fan bases are different. The cultures are different. It's all different. It's what makes, again, a college football rivalry so fantastic. Now, on the matchup on the field, dude, Mississippi State is about it. Okay, their cheeks at stopping the run. 119th in college football in rush defense right now this year. That is my problem with this because Kejuan Lacey and Ole Miss they're one of the best teams in college football running the football. We talked earlier about Oklahoma's defense, how they just, seem to be like nobody can deal with them. That Ole Miss got buckets on them and in Norman. They were able to run the football and throw the football. So my problem with wanting to back Mississippi State as a dog here, getting 7.5 when they're 5-1 against the spread at home this year, bro, Ole Miss they're going to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to run it with a quarterback with Winnedad, and they're going to run it with Kejuan Lacey for sure. Yeah, that's what McAfee calls him. That's hilarious. They're going to run the football with both of those guys.
Yeah,
a ton. So they need Lebby's offense and Blake Shapen and that crew to get buckets right back and turn this bad boy into a shootout and get the game. If they can get the game to the fourth quarter within one possession and have all that pressure on Ole Miss, they have a shot. They have a shot to win it. But honestly, man, I think Mississippi State's defense is what it is at this point. For Mississippi State to win this game, to win the game, not just cover, but to win the game straight up, they need some mistakes, turnovers from Ole Miss, because they're going to have a ton of success running the football. And then they have to be sharp, so sharp, offensively. They can't turn it over. They can't make mistakes. And they need to play really well offensively to take care of business in this game.
What does the committee do with Ole Miss if they lose this game?
It's a great question, bro. Uh, they could be knocked out. They're not a lock at this point. They're not. If Because when you actually look, man, when you look at Ole Miss's resume, that win at Oklahoma is so good, so
Mhm.
impressive. Uh, but outside of that, bro, like what are we really like hanging our hat on if you're Ole Miss? Am I missing something? Because I went through the actually
Tulane.
right, and which again, good win,
Yeah.
but like, eh, I don't, dude. I'm sorry, I'm a fan of an SEC team myself, and let's just be real, okay? If you're an Ole Miss fan and you're running around and like you're touting like our win over Tulane is the reason we should get in the college football playoff, then maybe sit it out. Any other time that anybody wants to argue like they ain't played nobody, they've only played that group of 5 team. When you start making fun of another team because they
Yeah.
play a group of 5 team, don't talk about how Ole Miss should be in the college football playoff because of their win over Tulane.
That's why it's always been humorous to me over the past 2 seasons when Lane has talked about, schedules and everything because they've had one of the easiest schedules over the past 2 seasons in the SEC.
They have 100%. Texas had it last year. Mizzou had it last year.
I mean, Ole Miss had it last
Ole
year and
Miss
this
had it
year.
last year. Their loss to Kentucky kept them out of the playoff.
Yeah.
This year, they definitely like as opposed to like Oklahoma or Alabama or even Georgia. Some of those teams like Ole Miss
Uh-huh.
played Oklahoma, but outside of that, they got beat by Georgia. They played Georgia. Yes, they did. They
Yep.
played Georgia. That was a great game. But they didn't play Alabama. They didn't play Texas. They didn't play Texas A&M. They didn't play some of the other top teams in the SEC. But again, I don't have a best bet in this game. If you made me pull the trigger, I would pull I think Ole Miss wins, but Mississippi State covers in this game as of right now is how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't have a best bet in this one.
Man, I thought you were about to say, "Oh, I've got one."
I haven't gotten there quite yet,
Okay.
on Mississippi State. I gotta dig into a little bit more, but I do I mean, I like the underdogs. It's a rivalry game, so you can toss a lot of this stuff out, but
Mhm.
again, man, like, you look at some of the turnovers and, penalties, and they're all really relatively even, like, both teams 85th and 103rd in penalties per game, so, there's gonna be some flags tossed, especially with those SEC officiating crews. Um, you know, Mississippi is 40th in turnovers. Mississippi State's 72nd. So Shapen's got to take care of the ball. Like you said, man, I'm with you. I think Shapen needs to hit a couple deep shots. They need get a couple shots in early, get those cowbells rolling. Trinidad has never played there, obviously, so get that stadium rocking a little bit, get the cowbells loud, like he won't be able to hear himself think. But it should be a good one, man, to kick us off at noon. And then obviously Georgia Tech at 3:30, Texas A&M Texas at 7:30. Real quick before we get out of here, a couple other teams playing on Friday. We're not going to dive deep into them, but is there any trouble for Utah being favored 13.5 at Kansas?
Could. Yeah, it could. I mean,
Utah. I don't know what happened to Utah's defense against Kansas State.
yeah.
Offense got it done for them. I think they're going to drop back in the committee's rankings, one or two spots just because of the nature of that game. Probably get replaced by Miami, but Kansas has been dead, man. They've been
Yep.
dead for a while now. They just got blitzed by Iowa State in Ames by 24.
Yep.
I maybe think Utah got their scare out of the way. They're probably not going to go to the Big 12 championship unless something crazy happens. And so I think this is their final game. And I think they want to show out, obviously, and put their best foot forward in case someone stumbles and they're there to take their spot.
Yeah, I think Utah will take care of business, but like you asked, like, it could. I mean, Kansas is still trying to get bowl eligible. That's a big deal
Yeah.
to Kansas. But my only problem with backing Kansas in this game, that's a struggling bunch, bro. Their only wins in Big 12 play are against the bottom feeders of the Big 12. They beat West Virginia, they beat UCF, and they beat Oklahoma State. That's their only wins. They got
Yeah.
absolutely blasted by Texas Tech. They got blasted by Kansas State. And they got blasted by Iowa State. And Utah is they're right there among they're
Yep.
one of the best 3 teams in the Big 12. Texas Tech, BYU, Utah.
Yep.
So Utah would have to play bad. And dude, I know you have a ton of respect for Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham as much as I do. That performance that they put on the field defensively this past weekend, I feel pretty confident that defense won't be the defense that we see on the field in Lawrence this coming up week against the Jayhawks.
Yep.
So I think that it could be one of those deals where if Utah gets up a little bit, as physical as they are, and as much as they want to try to like bully you and pound you, if they get up a little bit on Kansas, that could be a definition of quit alert on the Jayhawks, and Utah could
Yep.
run it up on them. But yeah, I think Utah will get it done and take care of business in that game.
Last but not least, is there any trouble for the Indiana Hoosiers being 28.5-point favorites at the Purdue Boilermakers?
Nope. Kurt Signetti will want to see if he could beat them by 100 again. If he can beat it by 100, he will. And I
It'll be interesting to
don't
see
see any trouble. Purdue is better this year than they were last year. They are. They can actually defend themselves this year more. And if Indiana doesn't show up to play, Purdue can put up a fight. They put up some points and scored some points this year offensively and played well. Barry Odom is a really good football coach. But I just don't think that they've got the same deck of cards to be able to put up a fight against this Indiana Hoosiers bunch this week. So yeah, maybe cover the spread, maybe. Yeah, I'm not getting any part of that. But I think Indiana will be fine in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Indiana's first 12-0 season is right on the horizon. So good for the Hoosiers out there. Once again, early bets. I got Georgia Tech plus 14 against Georgia, and I got Texas plus 3 against Texas A&M. You don't have any official early bets yet, do you? So you got a couple leans there with Texas. You lean in Georgia and the Bulldogs, and if you had to, you would take Mississippi State to cover against Ole Miss. But again, stay tuned for X. Instagram, TikTok. We put out our bets and everything on those. And then obviously follow us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And we'll be back very, very soon to finish up our Rivalry Week preview. So again, for Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Nohe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And we will see you next time.